Captain Jack here. I can't think of a more concentrated library than the Nintendo 64, with maybe 10 or so games frequently talked about. If you ever meet another N64 owner, chances are you had 90% of the same games, basically the opposite of something like the PlayStation. But what about the games that weren't talked about? Here's 5 Nintendo 64 games you might have not heard of before. Platformers have very strict rules about what the main character can be. Sonic's a blue hedgehog, Croc's an alligator, Banjo's a bear. Alright, now hear me out. Glover's the type of game that never should have left the idea stage, but somehow it escaped and it actually works. You can hold the ball, you can throw the ball, you can walk the ball, you can even dribble the ball. The whole game is designed around the ball, and it's both the best and worst parts of the game. When the ball works, it works. But when it doesn't work... Ball on the platform, alright. Oop. Okay, next time. On the platform. There we go. Oh. Alright, I'll just throw the ball. Wait, what the fuck? And don't even think about trying to do anything without the ball. Glover without the ball is the Pillsbury Doughboy without the dough. He can do a cartwheel. That's about it. With the ball, you can do everything. It can even transform into other balls in case you have a 2 or even 3 ball job. And luckily, everyone in Glover is weak to soft rubber balls. It's still a ball though, and it's gonna do ball things. Hey, get back here. The game has 6 worlds with 3 levels each. The levels are pretty tightly designed with several obstacles to clear right beside each other. There's also plenty of ball checkpoints, you know, just the game checking to see if you're still suffering. I don't even know if I can recommend this game outright. The game has the highest highs but the lowest lows. Check with your doctor to see if Glover's right for you. Beetle Adventure Racing looks like a totally stupid idea at first, with the only vehicles available being different variations of the Volkswagen Beetle, which, when you think about it, probably isn't the most aerodynamic car. It's basically a giant metal balloon. It's a surprisingly good-looking game with clean scenery and 7 opponents on screen. There isn't really one thing that stands out with Beetle Adventure Racing, but everything is just done so well. The controls are great, with a brake slide feature that allows for quick turns, and the maps start down to earth, but eventually get pretty exciting towards the end. You'll be jumping off canyons, driving through burning villages, swerving around dinosaurs. These moments are spaced out to make them special. There are plenty of alternate routes in each map. Seriously, there are probably 10 detours you can make in just one lap, making each lap play differently. These tracks are huge, with it taking 6 to 8 minutes to finish a race. There's multiplayer, time trial mode. It's pretty standard affair as far as racing games go, but Beetle Adventure Racing is just a solid package, and it doesn't miss. Well, sometimes the AI does. Holy shit! Mischief Makers is totally unique on the N64. Seriously, this looks more like a Saturn game. It's a 2D platformer on a system with hardly any. I mean, what other game looks like this? Yoshi's Story? Yeah, that's probably it, actually. It's made by Treasure, known for games like Gunstar Heroes and Dynamite Headdy. They hadn't made a 3D game yet, and apparently they weren't starting now. The main gimmick here is that your character, Marina, doesn't have any inherent weapons. Instead, she can grab things and, shake them. Yeah, I can see why this game didn't sell well. It's actually a great mechanic. You can grab and throw people, use these bouncers to reach higher areas, grab guns, even grab giant mechs. The game has this strange world where almost everything has a sad face on it. From the bouncers to the blocks, even the people. And I say the people, not the enemies, because it's kind of hard to tell the difference between the two. They look the exact same. An easy way to tell is if a dialogue box shows up. Hey, this is my sister Celeste. Please be nice to her. The game is actually pretty easy, with almost no enemies that appear. You think this game is pretty easy, don't you? Well, strong enemies will soon appear. Oh. There's actually plenty of bosses and engaging enemies outside the first few levels. Here's the first one. We'll come back later, I promise. The enemies actually do get pretty strong. The real secret here is that Mischief Makers doesn't really need hard enemies to make its levels interesting. They're usually not the central focus of the level. One level might have you chase mischievous kids back to their mom, guide a missile through a narrow hallway, or collect items in a bottomless bag in order to craft new ones. It's hard to classify this game. It's part puzzle, part action. Fast-paced sometimes, slow-paced other times. Marina was recently added to Smash Remix, a Smash 64 hack that I discussed in another video. So there's no better time to check Mischief Makers out. Body Harvest was really ahead of its time. Made by DMA Design, which had just completed work on the original Grand Theft Auto, you can really see ideas more fully realized in GTA 3 getting tested out here. Body Harvest is an open world game that has you repel the alien invasion as you travel from location to location. Having any sort of open world on the N64 is extremely impressive. I can't really think of any other game on the system with anything approaching this level of scale. There are 5 open worlds, each with their own sections that get gated off until you complete an objective, making sort of makeshift levels. As for the size of the worlds, they obviously aren't that big compared to modern games, but they're big enough where you'll have to use vehicles to traverse it efficiently. And there are lots to pick from cars, bikes, to even tanks and boats. You will spend plenty of time in these as you travel from point to point. The aliens really lose their scariness factor once you run over them a few times. There's the signature GTA levels of blood, but there's a few things that didn't carry back over into Grand Theft Auto. Having a fuel gauge for all the vehicles means you'll have to constantly refuel to keep moving, along with actual interiors for some of the buildings. It can be anything from little houses that have ammo and health, stations with important NPCs, to even temples with new weapons. You do start to see the cracks in this game though. It's by no means perfect. The controls for the interior buildings are absolutely atrocious, and the shooting controls try to give GoldenEye a run for its money. Something I accidentally discovered is the world is surprisingly persistent. I crashed a car into the ocean and came back a few minutes later, and it's still there, just chilling out. Try out Body Harvest if you want to see what the future looked like 25 years ago. Space Station Silicon Valley is like if a platformer starred a head crab from Half-Life. The story here is that you crash land into a space station and then immediately blow apart until you're just one little microchip. And the only thing you can do as this microchip is inhabit broken down robots which litter the station. Each robot animal gives you 2 abilities. The dog gives you a jump and a bite, while the sheep gives you a completely useless baa and a better jump, etc. Each area is decently large and will vary from mission to mission. To complete an area, you'll have to do 2 or 3 objectives, given by Wallace from Wallace and Gromit. And they can range anything from turn off the electric fence to, hey, just kill this seagull, or collect the preserved heads of the professors. You okay, buddy? Don't know if we should be taking orders from this guy. Obviously, the most interesting part of the game is all the animals you can inhabit, and there are tons you'll encounter. From rocket-powered mice, skating walruses, to hungry hippos. Each of the 4 zones have different animals to pick from, with none of them crossing over. Space Station Silicon Valley is really a puzzle platformer at its core, with your access to different animals shaping the gameplay. There's one level where you'll need to fly up a ridge right at the beginning of the level, but you'll have to fight your way to a flying animal first. Or another that has an objective of killing enemies, then starts you out as the King Penguin, who has no way of hurting people. There's probably 40-something animals in all, and a few of them really stand out, like the special sheep with springs for feet, or the hyena who can kill people by laughing. There's lots to explore here, with easily 10 hours of playing time if you're terrible at puzzle games like me, and it's got to be one of the most unique games on the system. See, I told you we'd come back to this.